Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining, and we will be starting in a few minutes to allow everyone to join the YouTube Live. Hello, Pacific Northwest District. Welcome to the District Projects 101 webinar. My name is Crystal Choi, and I am currently serving as your District Projects Chair, and I'm from Division 30. Go Jellies! Presenting with me tonight will be a special guest. So, as you guys might have guessed, this presentation will be dedicated to educating you all on the Thirst Project, our goals as a district this year, and how you and your club can get involved. One moment, we're experiencing technical difficulties.
Guys, can you hear me now? Team, can you hear me? Crystal?
I don't think they can hear you right now, Kellen.
I tried
All right.
popping off and back on.
We have fixed the issue. Thank you for being patient with us.
I'm not sure if it was because it's being broadcasted from your computer, but if you can hear me now, we should be good.
Yes, I think we've fixed the issue.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so we will get back to it. As you're saying,
so the last thing I heard, I'm not sure if you guys heard it, but I was saying that anyone that asks a question tonight, guys, so any member that submits a question during the Q&A session is actually going to be eligible for free Thirst Project merchandise. Super easy. All you have to do is when you're submitting your question, be sure to include your name as well as your club. When you submit your question, have it answered, and you're automatically eligible.
Yep, so please stay until the end of the presentation for this Q&A session and a special announcement about our first official district-wide campaign for the Thirst Project. Yeah. Without further ado, let's get straight into our first topic, the basics.
Yes, so guys, thank you for being patient. I'm really excited because I want to tell you all about Thirst Project. But like any movement, like any organization, it started with an idea. Thirst Project was founded back in the day in 2008, which is crazy that now that it's 10 years ago. And it was by a group of students from LA. It was this group of students. It was 7 college students. They heard about the global water crisis. One of these students had a friend that came back from India, learned all about the water crisis, saw images and photos, and was so blown away that this was happening on our planet, that hundreds of millions of people were without clean water, that they literally went to the streets of Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles and started raising awareness. So they talked to people, they bought big cases of water bottles, they bought big jerry cans that they filled up with water, and they really tried to get people to understand the water crisis. Lifting up those cans, walking down the street, really feeling what it was like to have all that weight. And it was pretty awesome because that day they actually turned their $70 investment into $1,700. And then after that, there was a group of students present that they interacted with. And this group of students was like, hey, will you guys come and speak to our school? So sure enough, this group of students, they went, they spoke at these schools. They didn't think much of it. Honestly, they thought they were going to give little presentations and that was going to be it. But then a few months later, something amazing happened. They found out that those schools had raised over $12,000 for clean water projects. And that's when this group of students realized, wow, nobody is activating young people. There's so much power and potential in our youth. And that's kind of how Thirst Project was born, guys. And then today, the water crisis is still very real. So flash forward 10 years, and there are still over 600 million people on our planet that lack access to basic, safe, clean drinking water. Every day, guys, women and children all over the world are forced to walk miles, sometimes 3 to 4 miles every single day, only to fetch water that's not even clean. That's oftentimes contaminated with life-threatening bacteria and parasites. And not having clean water isn't just about drinking dirty water, but it also prevents kids from being able to go to school a lot of times, women from being able to get jobs because of all the time spent collecting water. It really affects every single aspect of community life and development. I mean, I'm sure you guys can imagine what it would be like not to have clean water. But guys, there is a solution. And I'm coming here not asking for research. The reality is that right now we have a solution, and young people are leading the charge. So in the last 10 years, we've traveled all over the country. We've educated students all about the global water crisis, and we challenged them to help us end it. We've been really lucky to activate over 400,000 students and bring clean water to over 350,000 people in 13 different countries all over the world. And it's pretty awesome, guys. We are really thankful for our work and what we've been able to do. Our solution is, maybe it seems simple, but it's super effective. And what we're doing is we're building fresh water wells. So essentially, with all the money that we raise at Thirst Project, 100% of our donations go towards building clean, sustainable water projects. Maybe you guys have guessed, or maybe you guys have heard about Thirst Project before, but I want to tell you, Thirst Project is really different from other water organizations, and honestly, other organizations in general. For the first reason, Thirst Project is driven by students and young people. We are not a group of old people in offices with suits and coats on. We are young people just like you guys all over the country and now the world. And we believe that there's no age requirement on helping others or changing the world. So we're really driven by our youth. And we are literally the world's largest youth water organization. And we have two important goals. Our first goal is obviously to end the global water crisis. But our second goal is to activate a socially conscious generation of young people that are literally changing the world. The other way we're really different from a lot of organizations is we're 100% nonprofit. So yes, literally every single penny that you guys raise goes towards building clean, sustainable water projects. We believe that there shouldn't be a cost or a fee to giving. So all of the proceeds we raise go to water projects. Everything we get from public donations, student fundraising, go towards building wells. Right now, we're active in 5 countries, but our main focus is on a tiny country called Swaziland, where we're striving to give that entire country access to clean water in the year 2020. We're the first nation to ever try the entire nation access to clean water. Now, the last way that we're really different is we put a major emphasis on sustainability, honestly, above all else. We may spend extra money and time on projects, but it's because the wells we build are truly made to last. In the last 10 years, guys, we've been able to activate tons of students and build water projects, over 2,800 projects. We have a less than 0.01% failure rate. And we're also really lucky to have a water project technical board, essentially a group that meets regularly to ensure that the communities we're working in are educated, they're connected, they're equipped with all the resources and tools that they need to be self-sufficient and maintain their water source. This project is all about empowerment and sustainability.
Thank you so much, Kellen, for sharing the passions and goals of the Thirst Project with us. Now that we have a solid understanding on the wonderful organization that the Thirst Project is and how well their visions and goals align with our district, let's go over how the PNW has and will be involved in this great movement to end the water crisis. So this year, our district's fundraising goal is $75,000. This is enough to build 6 wells in the Moyeni region of Swaziland. Although this amount may seem like a daunting amount to raise, with our current membership of 13,644 members, we would be able to achieve well over this amount, even if every member simply fundraised just $6. Let alone with all the wonderful service projects and fundraisers that you guys do, we have the potential to make a huge impact. Earlier this year, the District Projects Committee created a fundraising goal formula, which officers then used to set a personalized, achievable goal for each club. Having a goal in mind can make the fundraising process a lot easier and allow you to set up a strategic plan. So ask your officers about your club goal and have this vision in mind. It'll make the fundraising process a lot easier. So with all of this money that we fundraised this year, who exactly are we helping?
Well, yes, as Crystal mentioned, the PNW this year is actually going to be supporting the Moyeni region in Swaziland, a group of 7 communities. And as you guys can see on this table, the populations here range from 78 to 484 people, with the majority of which being children. And each of these communities, guys, currently get their water sources from open, contaminated sources, springs, rivers, earth dams that are open, that are unprotected, oftentimes are shared with animals like cattle that are drinking and defecating in the same water sources that people are using. But the really cool thing is by raising money to build wells, 100% of the proceeds, like I mentioned, are going towards building these wells. And we're doing so much more than just providing clean water. The cool thing is we are literally building communities. So it's going to change so many aspects of community life. Instead of having to walk sometimes 6 to 8 hours a day to fetch water, so many of these individuals are going to be able to get jobs and be a part of their communities. Children are being able to get educations. They're no longer going to have to spend so much time collecting water. We're going to be able to change things like health and sanitation, economic opportunity, economic productivity, really building the structures that communities need, all with a freshwater well that is a foundation for life. So you guys are literally building communities.
Yeah, just like the Thirst Project's motto says, give water, give life. The work that you guys are doing and the fundraising that you guys are doing are impacting the lives of people and not just giving them a necessity, but it's changing the way that they live. And now that we have reviewed the why, where, and who, the impact of our district project, it's time to talk about how we make this impact. Here are some of the resources that have been created by the District Project Committee for your use, all of which can be found in the District Projects resource folder. The first one is the club project registration form. So this is basically a simple and quick Google form that clubs fill out after they have planned a Thirst Project fundraiser. And once you submit the form, our committee will go over your project plans and get back to you with personalized input on ways to make carrying out the fundraising easier, helpful tips, and resources that might be useful for your project. This form takes less than 5 minutes to fill out, and it gives our committee a better understanding of how we can assist your club in fundraising efforts. So if your club has planned something, or even if your club has already completed the project, we encourage you guys to check the form out and fill it in so we can give you the best feedback possible. The next resource that we created this year was the money reconciliation form. The second resource is simply a standardized form that clubs should fill out when sending in money from fundraisers. It helps us in keeping track of which clubs have done fundraisers, when, and exactly how much money you've raised. So please remember to send in this form along with the fundraised money. And as a reminder, it is best to send in money from fundraisers as soon as possible instead of waiting to send it in at the end of the year. So every time, if you do multiple fundraisers, send in the money right after you complete the fundraiser. Throughout the year, the District Projects Committee will be using the following forms of communication to bring you updated news on our fundraising progress and information about new campaigns and resources. We'll be using the PNW social media like Facebook and Instagram, and every other Thursday we have hashtag Thirst Project Thursdays. So follow us to see all those updates, and then we'll be using the bi-weekly email updates and officer Google groups. As a new addition to the awards portion of DCON this year, we'll be presenting the club that raises the most money per member with the District Projects Award in Seattle, along with the Special Recognition Award from the Thirst Project. And now we want to take this time to announce this year's first official district-wide campaign, Thirsty 30.
Yes, Thirsty 30. Woo! Guys, Thirsty 30 is a fundraiser that was built specifically for Key Clubbers. So we've been an official service partner for a little while now, and we wanted to create a Thirst Project fundraiser that served two purposes. Because I think one problem that a lot of Key Clubs have is activating all of their members. Sometimes it's really tough to have a fundraiser that incorporates everybody in the club. And the second thing is you guys are constantly fundraising for different organizations. So we created a fundraiser that would be really specific with a time frame of 30 days. And thus Thirsty 30 was born. So essentially, Thirsty 30 is really simple, and here's how it works. The first step is to identify how many people are on your fundraising team. So ideally, this would be the number of members in your club. The second step is to create numbered envelopes. So to literally write from, say you have 40 members, envelopes with the numbers 1 all the way up to 40 on those different envelopes. And then the third step is to randomly have each of your members, so ideally each of your club members, select an envelope and then choose an amount of money based on that number. So whichever envelope is drawn, that's how much money you have to raise in those 30 days. So you and your fundraising team literally have 30 days to go out, fill up your envelopes, and bring them back to raise money.
This may sound like a really easy and simple fundraiser, but the impact of this fundraiser is insane. A 20-member club may seem small, but at the end of this fundraiser, a 20-member club would have raised $210. 50 envelopes, 50 members amounts to $1,275. 100 envelopes equals $5,075. And 150 envelopes is equal to $11,325. Okay. That is the equivalent to almost a whole well in Swaziland. With the size of our current PNW membership, the possible impact of this single campaign that we do this year is incredible. So Thirsty 30 will be happening during the 30 days of November, and we encourage you and your club officers to start planning for this now. It doesn't take much planning, and it is completely customizable to your club. For example, a little shout out to the Rogers High School Key Club of Division 30. They are currently carrying out their own Thirsty 30 campaign. And instead of using envelopes, they took Chinese takeout boxes, flipped them upside down, and then wrapped the containers in labels with facts about the Thirst Project and the water crisis. And they used these containers to collect the money fundraised. Division 27 also had a DCM recently where they bought plastic water bottles, and then they decorated these water bottles and used them to collect funds as well. So all the graphics, labels, educational materials, and resources related to Thirsty 30 will be uploaded to the district project's resource drive. So anything that you guys need for this fundraiser and any other information can be found there. If you have any questions about Thirsty 30 or any questions related to fundraising and the district project, we will now be going into our Q&A session. Please remember to include your name, club, and division when submitting a question so that you can be entered into a drawing for free Thirst Project merchandise. Woo. All right. So I believe this question is referring to the club project registration form. The club project registration form and all other materials related to the Thirst Project can be found in the district project's resource drive, and the link to that can be found on our website, on the PNW Key Club website under the Thirst Projects tab. Next question, how can we access the officer Google Groups in communications/resources? So if you are an officer and are currently not in the officer Google Groups, please contact one of the executive officers to have you added, or contact your lieutenant governor so that they can contact one of the executive officers and get you added to the group. Next question, why do we want to turn in money as soon as possible after each fundraiser? So this is a good question. We'll be keeping track of our progress as a district in terms of fundraising throughout the year, and it's really helpful to see how much we've fundraised in real time. So if your club has raised $600 or any amount, but then we don't get that until the end of the year, it's hard to track where our fundraising is currently at. And this year, our committee, the District Projects Committee, is focusing on reaching out to individual clubs. And so through the club project registration form, we looked at which clubs in our district have done fundraisers and maybe which clubs in our district need maybe help in doing a fundraiser if they haven't done one thus far. And by sending in your money, we keep track of which clubs have done it. And so it won't be necessary for us to reach out to you and ask you if you guys have done a fundraiser. And it helps us keep track of our progress as a district. The next question from Issaquah High Key Club. Is it preferable to send a check or cash for fundraisers? I don't believe this matters. Either is acceptable. And when you write a check, just make it out to PNW Key Club. Next question. How do we get members to be hyped to raise the larger amounts rather than discouraged? Kellen, do you have any advice for this?
Yes, I would say a couple of things, guys. First is be really candid about what you're fundraising for. So different than most fundraisers, I think you can get people really excited about the fact that, hey, every single penny you guys raise is going towards this bigger goal of providing 7 communities of people with clean water for the rest of their lives. So a way of getting them hyped is telling them, hey, 100%, guys, know that every single penny you raise is going towards the actual solution. And other things you guys can do is you can be really creative within your clubs. You can have fun challenges or giveaways or friendly competitions to get people excited. But I would say one of the biggest ways is to really share this goal that we talked about and that we went over in this webinar of like, here's what we're fundraising for and here's how it's literally going to change lives forever.
Thanks, Kellen. Next question is, what should clubs do to fundraise in the community and not just your school? So this is a really important thing to remember when fundraising is that the larger your fundraising audience, the more you can fundraise. So when you limit who you're fundraising to just maybe inside your club or just to your school, you're limiting the amount of resources that you have in terms of fundraising. So when you want to get your fundraisers out in the community, you have to know where the people in your community are. And keeping track of things like community events and things that are happening in your community and how you can partner with these other organizations in your community is super important. So if your community is having some kind of an event, ask if you can have like a miracle minute in the middle of the event that they're doing, or if you can do a quick presentation or things that you can incorporate into the events that are happening in your community already. And that makes it, that gives you a lot less work that your club has to do in terms of planning a whole fundraiser. Kellen, do you have any more to add to that?
Well, yeah, I think expanding your reach is the best thing you possibly do of like having a group involved. And when you're planning community events, making sure that you're not doing it alone, but you're working with your clubs. And it really is successful too sometimes when you latch on to local events that you know are happening anyways. Things like festivals or farmers markets or different community service events that you know are going to happen. Find places to fundraise where there's big groups of people, where you really have a plan of action. And if you guys ever need anything from us, if you ever need logos, if you ever need Thirst Project materials, if you're having a fundraiser and you're like, hey, I need to know more about the water crisis so I can really articulate why we're doing what we're doing when we're out fundraising, feel free to reach out, guys. Like, you have my contact. As I mentioned, I'm going to be your guys' liaison. So if you ever need Thirst Project resources, if you feel like showing a video in an event would be helpful, I can send all of that your guys' way. Any way that we can bridge the gap between what we're doing here in fundraising and where the impact and all of the efforts are going to go towards around the world is going to be really cool for people to see and realize. So I'm here to help make that possible, but really articulate the fact that you guys are fundraising to change lives abroad. Like, that is such a cool, powerful thing.
Thanks, Kellen. And in reference to a question asked earlier about whether cash or checks are acceptable, I apologize for the misinformation. Send only checks in the mail. Cash is not secure. Thank you, Ingrid. Next question. Is there a minimum amount that we have to send? No, there is no minimum amount that you have to send. Is there a list of registered projects that have worked well in the past? So that's one of the reasons why our committee decided to develop the club project registration form, is to be able to track which fundraisers have been working well, I believe there's a list of fundraisers not related to the district project, but a general list of fundraisers that worked for clubs last year that when a survey was sent out. And we are trying to utilize this information and send out little bits of updates saying this is a fundraiser that this club recently did through our Thirst Project Thursday post on Instagram. One example of a project that worked very well was a walk for water that Division 13, 15, 17 did at the beginning of this year. And that was a really, really successful fundraiser. So if you have more questions, you can contact Lieutenant Governor Michelle Yang about that. But that is an example of a fundraiser that was very successful. Next question, what numbers are we supposed to put on the envelopes for Thirsty 30? Are they supposed to be random? So the envelopes, the number of envelopes that you have are supposed to correspond to the number of members that you have in your club. So if your club has 40 members, then you would have 40 envelopes, and then they would be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. until 40.
And the other thing, just to piggyback off that, is you guys can also get creative. Like if you decide in your club that having envelopes numbered 1 through 10 is going to be really low amounts, and if you think that's like not going to be fair to other members, you guys can also be a little more balanced. You can do 5 envelopes with $5 and 5 envelopes with $10. Like you guys can mix it up and be creative. Like the structure is yours to be like creative with and play around with. You can also vary it up in terms of like essentially like how you're handing out the envelopes and find fun ways. Like it was awesome to hear the other divisions that used like Chinese takeout boxes or finding creative ways to use water bottles to collect funds. Like make this guys your own and have fun with it and be super creative on what you're doing.
Yep. Thirsty 30 is a very personalizable fundraiser. So have fun with it and get creative. Next question is, when is Thirst Project merch available on the PNW website? The answer to this question is soon. We are currently in the process of designing and coming up with new merch this year, so please be on the lookout for that. Is there a location for the District Projects Resource Toolkit on the PNW website, or do only officers have access to this right now? Yes, the District Projects Resource Toolkit is on the PNW website under the District Projects tab. Aside from Thirsty 30, are there other coordinated fundraisers throughout the PNW, or will the rest be on a district or club-based level? I believe this question is referring to district-wide campaigns that we're doing this year. For now, if I understand this question correctly, for now, Thirsty 30 is the only district-wide campaign that we will be doing this year. And this is because our committee wanted to focus on the potential that each individual club has. And our role as a committee this year, we wanted to shift it to support each individual club and be in contact with you guys and help you guys find how you guys can best reach out to your clubs. The impact that we can have through district-wide campaigns is very huge, but we also understand that each club has their own schedule throughout the year and you guys have your own plans. And a lot of times it's hard for us as a whole district to do something together in the same week or in the same month. And so we're doing Thirsty 30 as a coordinated district-wide event, but we also want to focus on empowering your guys' clubs to have fundraisers that work for you at the time that works for you in a way that works for you. How much does each well cost to build and maintain?
So that's a great question. I can jump here and chime in. So most of our efforts right now, as I mentioned, are in the country of Swaziland. Swaziland being a really small country, and also Swaziland being the country with the single highest density HIV/AIDS rate in the entire world. We decided that Swaziland was a perfect place to start with ending the water crisis in one entire nation. So most of our efforts are there, and because of that, the cost of a well that we say is $12,000. with $12,000, that helps construct a well in Swaziland that goes towards the drilling, the surveying, and installation, the pump materials, towards the educational phase where we work with communities to make sure that they're empowered to be able to maintain their well by setting up a well committee, by putting in all the structures to help them set up an account for future endeavors, connecting it to actual local drillers so that for future maintenance issues, they're able to handle all the maintenance themselves and not dependent on us as an organization. So $12,000 fully covers that cost. But to be really candid, the cost of a well varies country to country based on things like fuel costs or government permits. So in a place like Swaziland, it costs $12,000. But in a place like Kenya, it costs upwards of $20,000. And in Uganda, it can cost $8,000. So it really varies country to country based on several different factors. But with the wells that we're building and constructing right now in Swaziland, they are $12,000, and that covers everything.
All right, next question. Are the envelopes for Thirsty 30 supposed to be chosen or assigned randomly? I believe it would be more wise to allow members to choose which envelope they take, because if a member randomly chooses an envelope that says $100 on it, they might not be able to raise that amount of money, maybe because of financial circumstances that they have personally, or any other factors that play into that. And when you pick the envelope, you're making a commitment to raise that. And members, it would be better for members to choose which amount of money they commit to fundraising to. Do you have any input on that, Kellen?
Yeah, so that's a good way to do it. It can be random as well. It's totally up to you guys, but you definitely don't want to put your members on the spot to feel like, hey, you have to just go home and just get this money from your family. Like, there's so many creative ways that we've had students raise money. We've had students that will literally go door to door in their neighborhood and say, hey, here's what I'm doing with my Key Club. Here's where all of our funds are going towards. Or we've had members that will babysit or mow lawns or take a portion of whatever they get at their local job to this. Like, don't feel like for your members, you're saying, hey, you need to hand in this money right now, this second. It's saying, hey, find a creative way to fundraise this amount of money. But yeah, to answer your question about randomness, it's up to club leaders and general clubs. We've seen some clubs do it completely random, and we've seen others have sort of a selective process.
Who goes to build the wells? Is it a certain charity?
So with Thirst Project, what we do is we believe in empowering locals. So we do not like send a drilling rig across the continent of Africa or parts of Latin America. What we do is we work with local drilling companies. So we've established relations in all of the countries we're active in, right now 5 countries. And what actually happens is we have a team on the ground. So we have country directors that live full-time in each of the countries we're active in. They are actual Thirst Project employees. And essentially they're connecting with local drilling companies and with communities in need and facilitating this process and ensuring that everything is done successfully. So no one is actually going from Thirst Project's team in Los Angeles to build the wells, but rather we already have teams abroad in each of the countries we're active in that are actually building and drilling the wells on a regular basis.
Thanks, Kellen. Next question, is there a limit for how many fundraisers we can have? No, there is thankfully no limit for how many fundraisers you can have. So if possible, do as many as you can. The more, the better. Can we partner with our local Kiwanis Club to expand our resources? Yes, definitely. And this would be a great way, in reference to the question earlier about getting your fundraisers out to the community, using or working with your local Kiwanis Club to get your fundraisers out in the community and partner with other local organizations. That would be a great way to do that. What are the other countries that Thirst Project is looking to help after Swaziland?
That is a great question. So right now, the other countries that we are active in at Thirst Project is Uganda, Kenya, El Salvador, and India. So that's where we're maintaining essentially relations in those countries, building a limited amount of projects per year to keep those relations established. To be completely candid with you guys, we haven't decided. So by 2022, we don't know exactly which country will be next. There's been talks of Uganda because of our relations there and because we've already built so many projects. But in terms of the after step of after Swaziland, that is something that we're going to probably deliberate as a team as we get closer and closer to that goal.
Next question, are we able to team up with other high schools for fundraisers? Yes, your club is able to carry out your fundraiser in whatever way that you guys see fit. The only thing to keep in mind is that you would just have to split the amount that you guys fundraise between the other high school that you partner with. Is there a cost to get a Thirst Project speaker to our school? How soon of a notice would they need?
So I can jump in here. There's absolutely no cost to the presentations that we give. We believe in free education and believe in presenting to any student that wants to hear about the water crisis. But the reality is, guys, for this semester, currently, we just are finishing up right now. We have a few more weeks, and the teams that we had speaking, so our teams of road warriors, they're called, they already finished their presentations in the Northwest. But this upcoming semester, we will have teams that will be back in action and on the road again. We'll have 4 teams traveling the country. If you want to get a presentation, there's not necessarily an exact time of like, hey, we need this much notice. But if you know for a fact that you're interested in bringing Thirst Project to your school, what you can do right now is email our school tour director, who's planning out presentations right now, is currently booking presentations as we speak. Her name is Tracy May. So if you email Tracy May at thirstproject.org, and we can follow up with this, but it's TRACIEMAE at thirstproject.org. And you say, hey, Tracy, I want to bring Thirst Project to my school. Here's the name of my school. She'll get back to you. She'll let you know our schedules. And that's how you can book a presentation.
All right, next question. I know we should turn in the money as soon as possible, but is there a final date / cutoff date? So there will be a district projects award presented at DCON, which is in March. So if you want your donations to count towards your club being able to get that award, it would be best to do it before March. But the Thirst Project doesn't go away after March or after the end of our Key Club year. So if your club raises money, you can, and it's after the cutoff date, you can always send it into the Thirst Project directly. But it would be best to turn in the money before DCON. How frequently should we partner with other clubs in our schools, such as Honor Society, for service projects? I guess there's no set amount of times that you can. If your club sees that partnering with other service clubs at your school is beneficial and effective in carrying out fundraisers, then that's up to your club to decide. What kinds of media type resources are available that we can use to help promote the Thirst Project to our community? So in our resource drive, we have a Thirst Project 101 PowerPoint that you can use if you want to educate an audience on the water crisis and what the Thirst Project is. There's also a Kahoot that goes with that presentation that you can use as a fun, interactive way to educate people. There are also graphics that talk about the water crisis statistics and other graphics in general that just promote the Thirst Project and talk about the cause and the Thirst Project. We will also be uploading a Thirst Project brand guide that the Thirst Project has on their website, or including a link to that. So you can use those resources as well. They have things like water bottle labels that you can put around water bottles, and they have facts about the water crisis, and you can use that as a fundraiser. They have pictures and they have different logos. So those are the types of resources that are available.
Definitely. And if you ever feel like that's insufficient, guys, you need more, feel free to reach out to me as well and say, hey, I need this specific resource. We're looking for a little bit more. I'm happy to share.
At this rate, how long do you expect for the Thirst Project to build enough wells for Swaziland before moving on to other countries?
That's a great question. And it's actually kind of a complex question, because a lot of times people ask us, well, how far are you towards your goal? How many projects have you built? We've built over 300 projects in Swaziland specifically. And the reality is, though, our growth in Swaziland and in all countries we work, it's not constant. So with any organization or movement, we're constantly growing in ways that we don't expect. And because of that, it actually becomes sort of exponential in the fundraising dollars we've raised year after year. So in the last 10 years, it's grown not at a consistent rate, but actually exponentially year after year. With any influencer that hears about Thirst Project and raises awareness, it can spread like a wildfire. Or when we have different individuals and groups fundraise and organizations that we partner with, we can actually have this sort of like wildfire of rapid growth. So we project that we will hit our goal before 2022, but that's the goal we had set back in 2012. And that's the goal that we're sort of sticking to, of ending the water crisis in Swaziland by 2022.
And what country will be the main focus after Swaziland?
That's a great question. It was kind of asked a little bit earlier, but we've talked about Uganda, but there's no guarantee there. Right now, we're so focused on Swaziland that we haven't really taken the time as an organization to really deliberate where exactly we'll go next. But we want to make sure it's somewhere where we have great resources, where we're very connected, and where we feel really comfortable about our country directors and the groups that we'll have working there.
And how big is the Thirst Project team? Is it a volunteer organization?
So Thirst Project has full-time staff members and also volunteers, but our staff actually kind of ranges. So our immediate staff at headquarters, individuals that work full-times in things like marketing and partnerships and education like myself, that team is 8 people. And that team expands though with our country directors, for example. So the country directors that we have that are literally located in each of the 5 countries we're active in, they work with teams. They have individuals, they have some volunteers, they have some interns, and essentially have their own teams in place there. And then we're also really fortunate to have volunteers in Los Angeles, have student leaders across the country. We have contracted speakers where we have actual Thirst Project representatives that speak across the country and sometimes around the world. We also have our road warriors every semester, where we'll send 8 people right now across the country every semester, usually college students or recent graduates, that give presentations about Thirst Project and the water crisis. But candidly, we try and keep our operation tight and small because we believe in being really efficient, and it allows us to maintain that 100% nonprofit guarantee. But at Thirst Project HQ, we have 8 immediate staff members that are sort of the core to all of our work.
Is there a certain company that's supporting the Thirst Project?
So there's actually multiple. We don't necessarily have one corporate sponsor that funds us year after year, but every semester and academic year, we'll run different campaigns with groups. So I can tell you guys about one right now. If you know Morton Salt, so literally the group that does salt products for households in the Americas especially, we've partnered with them. They're actually funding a big portion of our school tour right now. So they're a group that we're working with all the time. We'll do different brand partnerships. We're partnering with the upcoming Bumblebee movie. We've done different projections with Lionsgate of different film partnerships. We've done all kinds of different things with individuals as well. So not necessarily only companies, but sometimes we'll partner with actual celebrities or influencers that want to partner with us, that love our work, want to share our cause, and also get to represent us and take trips. You guys may know the Ace family or Nash Greer or Dacre Montgomery or Monique Coleman. So a big range of people that support us and actually get to like partner with us year after year.
Thank you, Kellen. How many more wells are you planning to make till you think that you have made enough?
That's a really good question. It actually fluctuates country to country, but instead of a number of wells, what I can tell you guys is that right now in Swaziland, we're a little over 74% of the country having access to clean water. So I can't answer that as a whole for the rest of the world of like how many wells are required. But in Swaziland specifically, we need to do a little bit over 25% to make sure the entire country has access to clean water.
All right, I believe those are all our questions. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to our presentation on the Thirst Project. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to contact me or Kellen or any of the District Projects Committee, and we will do our best to answer them. We hope this time was valuable for you guys, and we are so excited to see the impact our district will make in helping end the water crisis. So please encourage any of your friends who couldn't make it today to the webinar to watch the archived clip of this presentation and help us in spreading the word about Thirsty 30. Thank you guys so much, and we hope to see you soon with more exciting news about our progress.
Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you listening to me and having me on here. On behalf of our team at Thirst Project, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate your hard work so much. We're so excited to see you guys crush this goal, and we cannot wait for the day when we all get to see the images and the photos of the lives that we've impacted for the rest of their lives. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye, everyone.